we participate in. A lot of times public speaking is hard to catch on to or continue doing effectively in certain ways. You get caught up in it, so you might say something you don't mean to say, or you forget what you're supposed to be saying, so you sound a little boring maybe, or you sound a little too excited, which can be just as terrible to watch as someone who does not sound like they want to debate at all. So the first example that we are going to provide to you is a speaker that you might just after a while want to fall asleep when they are debating. I want you all to kind of think of examples while Kyle is giving his example speech of what he's doing wrong and maybe what he should be doing differently.
Jackie may be misinformed. I'm about to show you the most exciting speech you've ever seen. The most exciting YouTube video you've ever seen. If you think you have a favorite one, I'm going to top it right now. Once Young Quan sets us up.
Just wait on Young Quan.
Pressure on me.
Pressure is mounting. Wait for the page to load.
Is this
Can we do it? Will we be
Yes.
able to do it?
Yes.
As he goes up to the address bar and types in the word.
Another reason why Chrome is so much better than Firefox is
It's Chrome.
We notice his ads and favorite videos. And we question his morality.
you gotta watch this one.
No, because all throughout like it's closed and tells you
All right, everybody. Sit back in your seats. Hold on tight.
You have some, put the volume on. You're good. Play.
An effort to alleviate the effect of the anyone, the Great Depression, passed the anyone, the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Yes.
This is almost as good as Steve Jobs' key.
I just want you to be emotionally prepared to be moved. For this day to go down in history, something you'll always remember. Today, it's probably the best day of my life. I'm at the George Mason debate camp. I don't know how I could possibly further express how excited I am right now. I'm gonna tell my kids about this moment. I was at Disney World once and that was awesome, but not like today. Today's just too good. It's awesome. It's pretty amazing. Time's up.
All right, problems with Kyle's moving speech.
It was Kyle. He was slouched over.
He was slouched over. You should never do that in debate. The one thing that you always want to focus on when you enter a debate room that you will be debating on is figuring out how you are going to make yourself have a presence in that room. For example, if you walk into this room, you have like the ability when you speak, put your computer down here maybe and sit and read, or you have the ability to stand up and like slouch kind of like Kyle did to read. But you should be innovative with figuring out the room situation. Like this room, you might not have a stand to place your materials on so that you're standing properly, your vocal cords and diaphragm are stretched the way they are supposed to be. If any of you have sang before or played instruments, they train you to do that. But you got some cool stuff you can maneuver around in a room. And don't be afraid to do it. Don't be shy. You got this thing. You can maybe like set this up some way to put your stuff on it so that you are standing properly so
I can
you can
give
project.
the opposite example. If our computer guy can have a moving camera.
Oh, okay.
Today we come here to the George Mason debate camp. It's the best day of my life. It's amazing. It's fantastic. All the things we're learning. I get to meet all these new kids. It's so cool. There is nothing better than what we can get today. You, Devin, tell me something you like about the George Mason debate camp.
I like the people here.
Yeah, I'm right here. It's amazing. End scene.
Besides maybe the posture that Kyle had, what were some maybe problems? Oh my word, have you heard more monotone speaking than that? You never want, okay, fair. You don't want to be monotone when you speak. Because seriously, you have parent judges in the back, you have college judges in the back. Whoever your judges are, they're tired. They're bored. They're probably hungry. Some of them might want a cigarette. Like, they just don't want to be there a lot of times. It's your job to make them want to be there, or at least not want to not be there. So, in doing that, there are some ways that you can fix, maybe if you are a monotone speaker. The best way that I helped some of my old debate team members use rap lyrics during your speaker drills. Rap, read poetry, stuff that forces you to have inflection. Watch excited people debate. Because maybe you're just not excited enough and you need someone to rub off on you and show you like how badass debate is. Stuff like that will get you in the mood to where when you speak, you sound like Martin Luther King and not Ben Stein. Okay, any other, I think those were the two main ones, but if we have a couple different.
It was kind of lacking warrant. Like, you're saying that GMU debate camp is awesome, but you're not really explaining why.
That is a very big problem in high school debate, is trying to sound very uppity and knowledgeable by doing maybe extensions of previous stuff you said, but not really making arguments about those warrants extrapolation. You'll learn a little more about that. Peter's going to give a public speaking 101 lecture, which tells you what warrants are.
And a lot of the way you can generally tell about like what's important, where's a clear explanation is obviously when someone emphasizes a particular thing versus just the like general stuff they need to say.
I guess the one thing coached novices this year for GMU, something I constantly told them when they are giving a speech, they would end with like 3 minutes left because they didn't know what else to say. You should never do that because you should constantly be asking yourself in your head the question why. Because asking yourself the question why forces you to give warrants to what you have just said. For example, GMU debate is like awesome, I really like being here, but I don't really know what else to say, so my speech is over, is one way you could give a speech. But then you could say, GMU debate camp is awesome. Why? Awesome people here, really good lectures, and just list stuff. And that gives your speech a lot more credence for the judge in the back of the room. Makes them a little more excited about the debate they're in. All right, we're going to end that example.
Well, there's one more point to that.
is when you are in a debate, how often do you flow every single word your opponent's reading? Has anybody had a complete We have one. So you float an entire transcript, word for word, of what your opponent has said. Okay, so nobody can do that, all right? We are college debaters, coaches, we can't do that. Inflection shows what words you want them to flow, what words you want them to take down, because let's be honest, you're only writing down like every other word or 6 words that your opponent's saying. It stands to reason that the judge is doing the same thing, and how do you show what you want them to do is inflect and say this is something important and inflect your voice to make that very apparent.
Yeah, and especially in high school debate, who's ever kind of had a decision by a judge that they just felt like, but I said that stuff that you said I should have said. I don't know why I lost. A lot of times that has to do with airtime that you give arguments. Sometimes you're going to have a judge who just doesn't know as much about what you're talking about as you do. So you want to make sure the most important things not only get inflection, but get a good portion of your speech. Don't just say the most winning argument in 5 seconds of your whatever minute speech it is. Spend time on the important stuff. Thank you, Kyle. All right. The next
back.
example, all right, that's fine, will be given by Young Kwan. He is going to show you, what? He is going to show you maybe some opposite things from what Kyle did that are just as annoying.
Can I go?
So, he,
The podium?
Yeah.
sorry,
This is the one I see. Everyone good? Plan. The United States federal government should remove Cuba from its list of sponsors of terrorism. Avenging incredibly keeping Cuba on the terrorism kills you credibly terrorism terrorism continue to make Cuba and stay with us and proportional against the former strategy and rigid chain extinction there 7 and the policy select money good officer policies to church will have the stability assurance and gold trade objection protected.
All right. I want someone from PF to tell me what made them the most annoyed about that speech.
fast and hard to understand.
Yeah, like I am a policy judge who's been flowing for I don't know how long, but listening to that, I got nothing except for the word extinction at some point in Young Kwan's speech. You want to make yourself a little more clear and easier to understand no matter what event you're in. That comes into giving inflection, like Kyle's speech showed you, but also slow down. Until you are clear, you should not try to be more efficient in speed or anything. This applies to LD debaters who want to give a bigger clip to their voice so that they can say some more arguments. But if you have like a clip to your voice that's hard to follow, it makes your arguments seem less persuasive. In public forum, you want to make sure that you don't escalate how fast you're going to where it makes your speech sound less persuasive and less like maybe even a presidential debate speech. I think the best example I can give for this is, did anyone watch the Romney-Obama presidential debates?
Oh.
Okay. The first debate, background, my old debate director coached the Romney campaign in how to debate. This helped him and hurt him in the debates. One, he gave some warrants, which was not as common in previous presidential debates, made himself sound a little better. But one problem that Romney encountered was he was so concentrated on answering every single argument that Obama had said in the last speech that he spoke so fast and just went through each point to where a normal American just sits there and is like, what did you just do? Like, that makes no sense to me. In policy debate, this is obviously the most important because everyone complains about this. Please, do not go faster than you can. You want to first become a persuasive debater and then work on speed. All right, anything else that was annoying about Young Kwan's speech?
Like, I don't know if this is just the way he speaks, but his voice was really high pitched.
That is the first thing I wanted someone to say besides speed. This is something everyone does, and they have to concentrate on not doing it. When you speak in front of people, almost everyone has the tendency to alter how their normal speaking voice is. In policy debate, we think for somehow if we've raised the tone so that we're speaking in a higher octave, we are faster. You are not faster, you are just annoying. Do not do it. In LD debate, sometimes when we get really up into like the philosophical point we're trying to make, our voice raises and raises and raises. And the person in the background is just going, what's going on? Your voice is just changing octaves for no apparent reason. And then in public forum debate, we go into our pros and cons trying to make emphasis on something, but we're not concentrating on how we're doing that so that the entire speech flows and sounds like a beautiful oratory. Anything else?
That podium is at an angle. It's driving me crazy.
All right, I'll take it. Don't do that. One more.
He was cake breathing. That really bothers me
Yes.
in a policy room.
This is the most annoying habit that is not verbal that people do. I have the bad tendency of being from an Italian Jew family that just moves around like this when we talk. I've tried so hard, but if you look at previous speeches that I have given in debate, I used to always do this, or like this, or like move around. One of my debate partners used to fly. Like, you never know what sort of speaking habits you have. One of my other debate partners used to tap his foot every time he took a breath. And this happens in every activity. And the one I've seen in public forum and LD the most is pen flipping while you talk, or like tapping something, or over excessively pounding the podium, taking your file folders that you're holding and like throwing them every which way while you speak.
Or when they make
Yes!
just slamming
You
them
have
down.
to be careful. Every motion that you make in debate is magnified from what you feel like it's doing. Right now, I feel like my hands are barely moving. But that's how you should feel your movements are going. It shouldn't be over excessive. You should never move your feet. Unless you're moving to make like a dramatic point that really needs some sort of like oomph to it. But you shouldn't be bobbing back and forth or ready stance like this, like you're gonna race or something. None of these should be in your performances.
Sometimes you don't even realize that you do those things until like you watch yourself in the debate and I'm like, I never did that, but
Which
like
is
you do, so like you don't want to make it into habit.
Which is why everyone who has like a computer or a friend, you need to videotape yourself. Every time you give practice speeches, they should be videotaped. I don't care if you're just in your room reading your affirmative, reading something. You should videotape it to watch what your tics are in debate. Is it over excessive pounding? Is it a foot tap? So then you can work towards correcting that. My partner who flew, we had to strap his hands down with his belt so that he stopped flying in debates. Like, I thought he might take off at certain points, and you don't want that to happen. It's really annoying for the judge.
He's contacting
All right.
Come and get me. I'm just trying to get.
Are you okay?
Yeah, this thing is super tall and windy. I'm not going to use it. All right.
Button on it.
The next example is going to be done by our dynamic duo partnership, Kyle and Young Kwan.
You gonna fight?
Maybe.
Todd and I will facilitate.
Yeah.
He's
Remember
going to be
a long-
my partner in this.
Yeah, I'm Kyle's partner.
Remember a long time ago when I said, this is the most exciting thing you're going to see? Well, this is the most exciting thing you're going to see.
You can say that.
Very good. Therefore, I believe that capitalism is bad. Time rights, beep beep beep.
You ready for cross X?
Yeah.
Cat bad. All right, we're gonna start off with the dumbest argument I've seen. Look, Young is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, Young Min Kwan. Capitalism is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Oh wait, we have sliced bread because of what, Young Kwan?
Capitalism?
You're damn right. I'm sorry.
But like
Where are you
still
gonna
have
learn-
economic
Hey,
inequality.
where are you gonna learn all of your kung fu moves from your Jackie Chan movies? Oh wait, we wouldn't have television if it weren't for capitalism.
He's Chinese, I'm Korean.
Can I ask a question, please? They're all the same. Do you like having grandparents? Oh wait, I'll answer this one for you. We wouldn't have people living this long if we were still in a system of hunting and gathering.
Did you just answer your
Excuse me, this is my cross-sex. I answer the questions here.
I'm sorry, it's my first tournament, I'm novice,
Be
I just
more
missed the varsity.
assertive.
Alright. Yes or no? Don't you like having the electricity provided by capitalism to use your blow dryer every morning?
Well, it's more complicated than that.
I said yes or no.
Yes.
Don't know.
Alright. Okay, what's the alternative? What system do you think is better?
Well, are you gonna let me answer it this time?
That's what I've been waiting for this whole time. Just seems you're not very prepared. Time's up. We're done.
Alright, someone who hasn't spoken yet. Let's get some hands I haven't seen.
You probably should combine your opponent and yes or no question, like not every question has that dialogue.
Sure, like I think the only time you should really focus on yes or no is like one, clarification questions. The second one is if you just need a yes or no for a follow-up question. Like, does your position say X is bad? And then you can talk about X. Something like that. But if you're going to go with a yes or no question, be like, I really just need to know the answer to this question so I can ask another question. So is it this or this? Give them the this or this option, not the yes or no. Phrase it in different ways. Just be a little more, I guess, nice about it.
I have a yes or no question. Do these things apply in crossfire rounds as well?
Yes.
In Crossfire, you want your questions obviously to be very efficient because you have many of them. So I would recommend just having the proper authority, be very assertive, but just Crossfire, you have to walk the fine line between being assertive with yes or no questions and being an asshole with yes or no questions.
Young should have been more assertive.
Yes. Now, this is something, no matter how much, I guess I would say, experience you have in debate, you should always feel confident. You have done the work necessary to be where you are. You have been hardworking. You have read up on everything you possibly could to get where you needed to be. If you don't know the answer to a question, that does not make you unintelligent. That does not make you any less prepared. It just means you have more to learn. Everyone has more to learn. People that are assholes are often just trying to overcompensate for feeling like they don't have all the knowledge they need. So always try to be confident in your answers. And if you don't know the answer to the question, the easiest way to compensate for that is to say, you were a little unclear. Can you rephrase the question you just asked me? Gives you a little time so that you can formulate your thoughts and give a more cohesive answer.
And don't be afraid to say like, I don't know. Because sometimes just like question is just so ridiculous, like
Or
It
I don't
doesn't-
think
yeah,
that's relevant.
yeah, it
stuff
doesn't
like
matter
that.
whether you answer it or don't answer it, so
I know the whole racism part wasn't really like important, but that, but also.
I want you to point that out first.
Yeah.
This is something I've seen way too often in debate. And it makes me so angry when it happens, I just want to punch people. People that you are debating with, debate is supposed to be a safe space. Everyone is supposed to be accepted. And no matter how funny or joking you think things like maybe a race joke is, or just like being very uninformed about things, like accusing a South Korean of being a huge like China whatever fan. Like if you don't know stuff like that, or it's just very not politically correct, one, but two, makes you look like a jerk. Two, escalates tensions in debate that don't have to be there. And one, can hurt you speaker point wise, because when race jokes are said in my debates, don't count on getting any speaker points, because I'm not going to give them to you. But also, this is a community. Like, we are not supposed to be hateful or rude to anyone. Whether that's a race joke, a gender joke, which I hear all the time in debate and makes me feel inferior and horrible when it happens. I've gotten called dude way too many times in debate. You don't want that to happen. Like, you want debate to feel like a family for everyone. Second thing you wanted to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say you shouldn't interrupt when he's trying.
Yes, this is something that is really hard to find the compromise with in debate. Because you want to ask so many questions, but you gotta let your opponent speak as much as you don't want them to. So I think the nicest way to get what you need out, if you have a lot of questions, first say, I have a lot of questions, so I'm just going to try to keep them brief. If you preface with that, a lot of times they'll do the same with their answers. If they're talking on and on, be like, limited time here, can we continue on? If they refuse, just ask another question.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is it possible for you to like say, can you keep the answer short if possible?
If they're going on and on, yeah, be like, I'm sorry, I need to get questions and answers out because I have a lot of questions for my cross-ex.
All right, we're going to do another example of aggressiveness, so.
We'll have them more in the next one.
Questions. That was just an example of improper aggression towards your opponent. Now this one is going to be an example of improper aggression with your partner.
A question with that last example. Some aggression in a cross-sex is alright.
Oh, yeah.
There's the difference between, sticking
Between
up
the
for yourself
proper
like
amount of
what Young
aggression.
would have done more, but if it became a contest of who can be louder and just top and top and top.
No, but there's a way to.
There's a fine line, and we are going to give good and bad cross-sex specific examples. Peter's going to do that later, so it'll give you like
But there's
a
definitely
better
a way
idea.
to be
Oh yeah,
aggressive.
definitely.
And
I was a
consistent.
very aggressive debater, and sometimes skirted the line towards the other side of being a little too aggressive. But you can find the happy medium.
All right, this one is going to be in the context of two partners trying to figure things out during prep time and to get ready for their speech.
Oh, I have it here.
Yeah. Can you get this piece of evidence for me right here?
Yeah.
Oh, can you also type up these arguments for me right here?
Okay.
All right, time's up. Is it ready?
No, I didn't finish it.
Are you kidding me? I have to give a speech right now.
Well, you asked me to first find the card, and then you told me to write up something, so I'm doing that now.
Useless. I'll give it in a minute. All right, can you at least jump it to me properly, or we're gonna have problems with that too? Judge, see what I have to deal with all the time. He always takes forever.
Gates jump.
Okay, obviously, LD debate, you don't really have this problem. In a lot of ways, this makes me happy when I don't have to judge debates where partners are getting angry at each other. Often just means the opponents get angry at each other even more. But what did you think was wrong, or what specific instances were partners being angry at each other?
It was completely inappropriate when Kyle had not only asked Young to do everything, but then made a scene about it. If you're going to be upset at your partner, I understand that because I've been upset at my partner before, but you definitely want to internalize that because when you start arguing with your partner in front of everyone, that's the worst thing that you can do in a round.
Yeah. Other things, people that haven't raised your hands.
It's like telling the judge, saying to the judge.
Yes. You might not think this is common, but I don't know how many rounds I have judged where a partner complains about their partner. Like, and that should never happen. Your partner and you should seem like a cohesive unit when you were debating, even if you don't like them. I didn't like all my partners. Some of them are really big jerks outside of debate. But, you know, you got to deal with them. And just kind of have to put those things aside and make it all business if it has to be all business.
Me? Okay. Just if I was a judge in that situation, I feel really bad for Young. Like, really bad. So I'd just be like, alright, you're a dick. So,
Yeah. Not only does it make Kyle look bad because he seems like a jerk, but, you know, in a lot of cases, when partners are mean to each other, it makes the partner look bad. Because Kyle's called him useless and said he never does anything right, he takes up too much prep time. Some judges will blame Young in that situation in some, like, certain parts of it, and that decreases Young's credibility for when he gives a speech, because then the judge is like, oh, I don't know, I guess that argument doesn't make sense because even his partner doesn't think he's useful. So you never want to do that to your partner. More people that haven't raised their hands.
And I think you should like stand up for himself because like I had like a bad partner like at the time when I was in tournament, and he was like in control of everything, and then when I do what he says to do, he would just complain that I did it wrong. So I think he should just like stand up.
I'm glad you said that because this is a hard thing to kind of navigate. It's easy when your opponent's angry and rude to you because you leave the round and you don't have to see him again. But you see your partner all the time. My recommendations for if you and your partner get in tiffs in debate is to resolve it outside the round. When you try to resolve it in the round, that's when people see that. People see you arguing. My partner and I always had a rule where before my speech, they got maybe 5 to 10 seconds if they disagreed with what I was going to do to explain to me their position. Be like, instead, we should do X. And if they could not make a cohesive argument that I understood, it's my speech and I'm giving it. So that's just something you can't argue in front of people. As much as it might hurt you to wait, you gotta wait until people don't see it. And that's when you can resolve it with your partner.
All right, to sum both of these up, now as much as, some parts of this were funny or whatever, these are all very extreme examples of improper aggression and things that should be obvious examples of never to practice and to avoid. Because even, these little tats that can, constantly escalate and become larger problems.
And this isn't just like, oh, be nice. This is do you want to win? Sometimes you get to clear at a tournament based on speaker points. Do you think you're going to get good speaker points in those rounds? No, you're not clearing. Good job. You've lost your chance at going far in that tournament. It's up to, everything will help you in the end. But also, some common examples that aren't the extreme that Kyle was talking about is constantly interrupting your partner. Come on, they're in debate. They know stuff. My rule of thumb is the only time you should interrupt your partner is if what they are going to say is going to lose you the round. If you are debating about immigration and you're supposed to be saying immigration good and they make an argument about immigration being bad, that's when you can be like, rephrase. Or say, not that argument. Or write it down and then give it to them. That makes it a lot easier. Stuff like that.
What about the opposite of that? What if something they are not saying?
Yes, that is a very common time, and that's when you do have to intercede. You have to find a system with your partner. And this is something you should strategize, is talking to your partner and being like, if I am talking about something for too long, you need to tell me an odd time. Like instead of telling me 4 minutes or 3 minutes, tell me 3:32, and that means move on. If I'm not answering a specific argument, just tell me the argument. Don't tell me what to say, just be like, X argument. So then they know to go to that and then answer it, or answer this. But try to find it to where it's not constant and more see if they've moved on from that specific debate to a different debate. And if they have not answered something on that debate that needed to be answered, you can say, go back, answer this argument. Does that make sense?
Or sometimes if your like partner completely missed a particular argument on the flow, then it might be necessary to put like if you have like a laptop, you could put that argument here and then put your response so the partner doesn't have to like go through that long thinking process and just like read it off of the laptop.
LD debaters. I know this seems awkward with you because you don't have a partner. This is something you can, I think, take from this example. A lot of times we have two poles that we feel internally in debate. One is that we're not good enough. Two is overconfidence. And a lot of times that manifests itself in our speeches and in our like questions to the debaters that we had. You should be constantly asking yourself, how am I being perceived? Am I doing what I need to do to make myself look like an effective and persuasive speaker and not ineffective and unpersuasive? Because you are your partner. So don't be mean to yourself. Don't be too nice to yourself.
All right, everybody, give it up for Young Quan. Are you doing yours or mine?
You can go.
Okay.
Todd is going to give you an example. I have to find where
It's prep time.
Oh,
So,
okay. Of what
right
you
now-
should do during prep.
I'm prepping for, let's say, a speech. You can stop prep.
It's on.
Stop prep, yeah. Just give me 1 second. I'll be there in a minute. Okay. Yeah, I think I have everything. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I need to jump you the speech. Okay, give me a second. Thank you so. Thanks, I guess. These days. Sorry. So yeah. Do y'all have a jump drive? Sorry, I left mine on the bus.
Really?
Can you just email it to us?
I'd really prefer to just jump it if that's like kind of okay with you guys.
I mean, I do what you need to.
I guess.
Yeah,
Here, you can have
Thanks. Yeah.
You don't have virus, do you?
What's a virus? So it should be saved on here as random day one stuff.
This is the
Yeah.
wrong. This is the wrong file.
Oh, my bad. I'll just jump it to you after the speech. Let me get my timer real quick. Sorry, Judge. Hold on. So 2 NC or 1 NR?
You don't know?
Well, is the speech 8 minutes or 5? I can't. It's been a rough morning. You know, debate tournaments, right?
You should just do 5.
Hold on.
Shorter.
Okay. Well, so it's 5? Okay, I'm gonna need to take more prep then. Hold on.
Are we taking prep time for this or?
You can stop it. That's fine. This one. Okay. Yeah. I think that should be good. So y'all good then? Yeah. Can I start?
You're not gonna jump into this?
Jump what to you? Seriously.
Your speech?
Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm giving the 1 NR. Oh God. Jump drive.
I thought you said you were giving the 2 NC.
Could you give us the order so we can start?
Oh yeah. Order. Gotcha. So yeah. First I'm gonna start out. Ath maybe. Go back to neg. If I have time, I'll hopefully go to the ath and then the neg again. But only if I have time, Judge. Yeah, sure. Is Joe ready then? Af, neg, af, neg. Does that work? Or did I say neg, af, neg, af? Which one did I say was first? Do you want to take prep time? You look real confused.
Alright. Problems.
No problem.
What were they?
He said he said that he didn't need to take prep time to get snack.
Prep stealers.
Yeah,
Who in here is a prep stealer?
I am.
Maybe. They are the most annoying people you have to judge. Prep stealers are thieves. Thieves that I want to punish with speaker points, with public lashing, with tar and feathering. I don't know, but they are frustrating because 1, it delays the tournament, 2, it delays the round, and 3, it's not nice. You're stealing. Don't steal. It makes you look unprepared and like a cheater, and we don't like cheaters. More.
He didn't have his speech jump to them, and when he jumped it was actually on.
Yes, this is whether or not you have to give a visual aid to your team, whatever. If you have stuff that needs to be given to the other team, that needs to be done efficiently and during your prep time, or just to where the judge doesn't get annoyed, just do it. Yeah.
Okay, I can't tell if you're going behind me. One of the most important things I think, like before the round starts, is to know what speeches you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are new to debate, this is something you should write down and just have a checklist. Every speech, just have them written down in order so that you can just check off, all right, this is what we're down to now. I gotta give it.
And
Alright.
the times for those speeches.
Yes. And how much prep time you get. Something that you need. Whatever utensils, I guess that's the word, you need for a debate. You need double what you think you need. So if you and your partner, or you yourself, need a timer for a debate, you need 2 timers. Because your opponent forgot one too. Or you need 3 timers, because you know what? Your opponent forgot one, but guess who else forgot one? The judge. So you should have a ton of timers. Timers are awesome. They're also like $5 at Walmart. Besides that, you need pens, and not just
timers. I don't even carry a timer anymore.
yeah,
I'm a judge, give me a timer.
exactly.
Or paper. I don't even carry paper.
Yeah.
All the time.
Paper.
Paper
You
and
should have it.
pens.
Pens. You should have them. Plural. I only flow with 1 pen. So if I'm the judge flowing with 1 pen and I lose it, that's the only pen I have. So I'm gonna need some pens. Your opponent's gonna need a pen. Your partner's gonna need a pen because obviously your partner's a mooch. Or if you're just by yourself, you need a ton of pens. Because what if your opponent is super mean and you're afraid of them or something like that? You don't want to ask for pens. Have your own pens. Besides that, you have a good, like, something to put stuff in. I don't think I've ever heard people say this at a debate camp when they're talking about what you need for debate. But you need, a book bag of some sort. Don't just hold all your stuff in your arms and hope you don't have a spill. Because if you're like me, you're gonna have one. And then you're gonna look like a klutz coming into a round. The judge is gonna be like, oh my goodness, I have to judge this idiot who just dropped all their stuff coming into the debate.
When I was in high school, we would carry paper, and my partner had our evidence. And I told her when we loaded the van, that's not going to work. Like, don't load the tub up that way. She did not listen. So she didn't have the lid on, right? She just put the tub on top of this van, and we had like all this evidence in there. They opened the door, and what the first thing I see is I'm getting out of the corner of the van. Poof. There goes my tub with all of my files that were nice and organized. All my speeches are there, all of our evidence, and it was raining. And so it is flying all over the parking lot, lands in a puddle. I wasn't all that different than I am now. I looked at her, I was just like, I cannot speak to you. And I turned around and walked away and went inside the building, and some somebody else helped her clean it up. But Jackie's saying could not be more important. Don't count on your stuff to staying together. Have a good bag or a debate tub, right? If you still use paper. Public forum or LD, your binders. Put your holes in those things, attach it to the binders, right? Make sure everything's attached or covered up in some way, because there is nothing worse.
Something I would like to point out, if you're super thrifty like me and you're just like, debate is getting so expensive, yard sales. I bought this badass bag for $2 at a yard sale. Just keep that in mind.
If you are a debate coach or a debate captain, and there are many of you in here, you want to score points, right? What we used to do is we would carry a box, really a tub with just supplies, okay? And put it to the person who's the most responsible who can carry it the whole time, because I never carried it as a coach. I made sure it was packed, but I didn't carry anything. I didn't carry anything. I carried my backpack, and often I hand all my other things to the debaters and say, don't lose these. My coat, my drinks, okay? It's just what I do. If you want me focused on coaching, that's what I focus on. But if you're a captain, or you're a coach, or you are good friends with your captain, it's a good idea to have a tub or a box of some sort that has these essential supplies in the background. Multiple reams of paper, lots and lots of pens, highlighters, timers. If you use your computer, we go out in the beginning of the year and we buy all those little $1 jump drives. I buy like 10 of them for $10. We have a whole bunch of them. We put GMU on them. An extension cord, a couple of them if you're a coach or a captain. A couple of surge protectors if you're using any sort of laptop. But we would carry this around. And somebody always knew where it was, and we still do that now. Somebody knows where it is. So if you need something, you run back and you get it. Okay? So those are essential. Paper, pens, highlighters, timers, jump drives, extension cords, right? And you can buy this stuff someplace really cheap. I mean, I think we would put together this tub for like $20 and just go. And have somebody responsible to fill it up each time. I mean, like, it seems like such a simple thing, but that one act of having the debate tub keeps your team organized. It makes you look efficient. Even if you don't know, like, you're the team captain, you're like, I don't know how to tell another senior team what they should be doing. But if you're the one who has the supplies, you are valuable. Okay? So I suggest that you do something like that.
Yeah, so a lot about debate is presence, making yourself look like you were prepared and on your game. You do stuff like that, the judge in the back is just like,
There goes your speaker points.
This kid just is not doing what they are supposed to be doing. And it just doesn't make you look good. So make yourself look good in an easy way.
When you're prepping with the jumping simulator.
Oh yeah, this is something that goes in line with prep stealing. When the prep is over, you are done. If you need more prep, you have to take it. But if the timer has gone off and you have said done prep, that should mean that you're standing ready to give a speech. Not that you're moseying around or stuff like that. You can talk to your judge, be like, can we jump outside of prep? If they say yes, they are a very nice person. So you should value that niceness and not take advantage of it. Be efficient. All right.
Somebody had a question.
What does it mean to jump
Okay.
If you are in policy, they do this.
They also do
LD,
public forums sometimes,
They
too.
don't. In public forum, they do. It is providing the other team with the materials that you are using to give your speech, like the evidence you're using.
Like on your computer.
So a lot of people will save it onto a flash drive and give a copy of it on a flash drive to the other team before they just start their speech. All right. I'm going to be giving the next one, I think, unless Peter.
We can do our cross-check
actually,
strategies.
you all look ready to go.
Cool.
So
So now we're going to do cross-sex strategies. You saw earlier, like, how to be nice / rude and like not to be rude in cross-sex. This is going to be more like how you phrase your questions in your strategy going into cross-sex. So we're going to pretend that Peter just gave a speech on the recent immigration bill that we just researched earlier today. So let's pretend his speech just ended. So, why are immigrants good for the United States economy?
That's a great question. I'm
Thanks.
really glad you asked that question, because it's a great one. Now, we live in the United States of America, And as you might know, we were founded upon immigrants. They come to our country, we allow them to come to our country, and they bring stuff. I think Microsoft maybe had some stuff with immigrants, and they helped our
So
economy.
when was Microsoft founded?
When was it founded?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I think
if you
that
don't
it
know
was,
when Microsoft founded and you're talking about Microsoft, how are you qualified?
you know, I have a Mac, so I don't know how relevant this is.
So
And
when
Macs are great.
when did you get your
know?
Mac?
Oh, when did I get my Mac?
Yeah.
I got one in 2008,
Okay.
black MacBook Pro, but then
No
I
way,
broke
me
it
too.
in a MacBook Air. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was great.
No.
And that's
cool.
why
Yeah.
they help our economy. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
So, yes,
question.
there you go. So what were some bad things about that process?
No words whatsoever.
Right.
Exactly.
You change the subject.
Right.
Why?
So yeah, what was his original speech supposed to be about?
Immigration.
What did it turn into?
Nice.
And Microsoft and the economy, like nothing that pertained to it. Sure.
This is just something that was more in the first cross-sex, but it's still in this one. One thing that really, like, I guess pisses me off, or like pisses a lot of judges off, is like looking at each other whenever you're answering and asking questions.
Exactly.
Like, turning sideways, like that is just no.
Yeah, you always should be looking at your judge and cross-sex. Like the most, if you're a judge, the most annoyingest thing is when the teams are just, yeah, okay.
Great question.
Cross-sex, yeah, right. Behind Christian.
I think like for Peter, I think it was like kind of effective. Like this is a good thing because like kind of wasted the questioner's time.
Right.
By, like not getting off topic like for the first.
So what would you say I should have done in that situation?
Just cut him off or like say
Right.
get specific.
Yeah, because what kind of question did I ask him? What are they called? An open-ended question.
Oh yeah.
Why is immigration good for the economy? That allows him to go on for 2 to 3 minutes about why he thinks immigration is good. Christian.
Todd should have paid more attention to the answer because it looks really bad and he's just stretching away
Yeah.
and not even caring about what you're
Just asking, you know, that was a great question. Thanks. So I can have those 4 or 5 seconds to think about something and just waste more and more of your cross-sex.
Yep. Did you have something, Monica?
Yeah, like you shouldn't ask questions that were already covered during the speech because it looks like you're not listening and you're not flowing, and it kind of like undermines your ethos.
Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to do a short example of another cross-sex. So we're going to pretend that he just gave a speech on immigration. Why currently is immigration not being passed in the status quo, or why is it being voted on in the status quo?
Well, that's a great question, and
Yes.
thank you for saying that question. It's not passed because Congress hasn't decided to pass it yet in
So
the House
what reason?
or the Senate.
Can you give me like a list of reasons why Congress has not voted on this bill yet?
Sure, I'd love to give you a couple of reasons. They just haven't got their stuff together right now. They're reading some
What
stuff.
stuff together? Oh, okay.
You know, it's
Okay,
it's
never
it's
mind.
a
That's fine.
1,300. Have you ever read 1,300
That's-
pages of
that's
something
fine.
before?
That's perfectly
Okay.
fine. Thank you. So how does this immigration reform differ from the one that was in previous presidencies trying to
Well,
push?
that one was 2007. This
Right.
one's 2013. So just in terms of
No,
the,
you don't
in terms
understand my
of
question.
the dates,
How is the difference between the 2007 immigration reform different than the 2013 one that is currently being pushed by President Barack Obama?
I feel like I've answered this question before.
No, you haven't.
2007,
Please.
2013, and we're letting immigrants in with this bill.
Okay.
I don't know how much more clear I can be. Come on, Judge. Don't you get this?
That's fine. Okay, so because everyone see the difference between the two different cross-sexes we did, that was more strategic. Well, I tried to be strategic. He didn't really let me, but that's okay. But yeah, that was actually like a decent like cross-sex strategy for Peter because he got involved questions. But what does that do to your speaker points? If Peter got up there and was like able to spit off all these facts and statistics and able to actually answer my questions, that shows the judge that he knows what he is talking about. He's knowledgeable and he's researched his argument. So go ahead, Monica.
Oh, just a question off that.
Go ahead.
Are there times when you should not give you not give reasons to the question. For example, the first question, I would be afraid to answer it directly because that would be a politics link, or I'm afraid it would be. Is there? Should I say it anyway?
You need to have some confidence in the cards that you're reading.
Right.
So you provide some warrants like the Senate and the 8 senators that are currently dealing with immigration have come to a compromise on border security, and border security is one of the most crucial issues for Republicans.
Right.
And our evidence supports that claim.
Or you could be like, because of the importance that like the Latin American public played in the 2012 election, that Republicans specifically want an immigration reform bill, and they will do whatever it takes because they know how important the Latino vote is for them. That would be another answer. Go ahead.
But yeah, to piggyback off that, how much should you politicize the debate? Like, especially something with immigration. Is it okay to bring up sources like MSNBC or Fox News?
Right.
Or
So you just gave a speech that has evidence in it. So you can be able to cite this. I love it when there's debaters who are like, oh, our New York Times 625 evidence indicates that currently Obama just met with 8 different Republicans about passing immigration reform, and they've come to a compromise for it that they plan on pushing. Like, the Gang of 8 is doing awesome.
Yeah, a lot of times news articles will also cite like quotes from political insiders or like experts. So like, don't be afraid just because it is from MSNBC, it is not qualified, because sometimes like the content of that article could be very qualified
Right.
experts.
And if you're able to just spit off those facts like,
Yeah.
oh, our evidence says X, that judge is going to be like, okay, that judge is going to be able to follow along and know what you're talking about and be like, that person is good.
But then with a topic like immigration, should you be bringing up political parties and specifying that Republicans want this because of this and this, or like should you make that distinction?
Only insofar as it helps your argument.
Right.
So if there's an argument that the reason that immigration is not going to pass now, and it has something completely unrelated to your topic, you want nobody to remember that or hear about it whatsoever. So you only would say, here are the 3 reasons it's going to pass, and then just hope that they don't have the 4 reasons it's not going to pass, or allow them to bring that up in an actual debate, in the actual speeches afterwards, and not during the cross-ex.
Yep.
The one thing I would like to point out that didn't really get touched on is on your question of can you be a little assertive or what's the line? In this, you obviously saw that Peter was trying to skirt actually answering questions. Todd gave some pretty decent verbal nonverbals to show that he was not pleased with how these questions were being answered. I think sometimes Todd's nonverbals are over the top.
Yeah.
Other times, though, if you're just like, stuff like this, if it's not answering it, very shows the judge, this is not good here. They are not answering questions. It's just ways that you can be assertive without being a jerk.
Can I add a comment? In cross-ex, as you were talking about like citing evidence, I really want to emphasize that the more you can cite evidence is preferable, right? You're all smart cats and all, but when I'm judging, when most people are judging, they don't want to just hear what you think. They want to hear that you have really spent time researching this particular argument or this topic. You've become somewhat of an expert, so you are referencing other people's work. Right? So you should really know who your evidence is from so you can cite it quickly. It's one of the first things I tell our kids is to learn who their authors are, who their evidence is from, so they can reference that, right? Or who's, whatever piece of work they're working from, they should know it really well.
Sure.
Just to piggyback along that, would it be like terrible if you like had to flip your evidence just to find a quick source, or
I
would
would
it be
say
better to do that, or just
one of the pieces of evidence I read in my previous speech said X. I can give you the name after this cross-X, and then provide a summary of that argument if you forget what the specific piece of evidence was. All right. One more individual, and then we're all going to do one for you. I'm going to do this one. Has anyone ever been in a debate where they just felt uncomfortable because the other opponent was just getting a little too heated and crazy? Or maybe just a little too indebted to their argument that they love so much? All right. Well. I am ready. I cannot believe that they just answered my military advantage, saying that we should not have a military. Can you imagine if we did not have our good forces who defend our honor and our freedom and our babies and our mamas who are on their knees trying to just make a living, wiping kitchen floors, doing what they need. Our military protects them and they just don't care. And they're just trying to tell you that instead of voting for hegemony, America, freedom, McDonald's, you should be voting for this argument that says we should just try to move away from capitalism and move towards some sort of communist dictatorship. Do you think this is a good argument, Judge? Are you a communist? Do we have to kick you out of the country? You do not belong here if you are a communist. We love America. We love money. We love weapons and deterrence and taking care of our families. We love computers that work and don't break down after you buy them 2 days later. That is what we need in America. If we don't have a military, we cannot save the innocent children. It's all about the body count, the bodies on the floor that will be there if you do not have a military and hegemony. They don't have bodies on the floor in a capitalist system that they say is bad. They just have a few people whose feelings might be hurt. You need to vote for me, Judge. They just do not know what they are talking about. Problems with my speech. I don't think there were any, and if you say there were, you hate America.
Trying to appeal to emotion, like body bags and body
Yeah, like seriously, there's no necessity for doing that. You can make that argument without being heated, without running out of breath like I did. Just making the argument, like, death might be bad. Maybe we should stop it from happening. Stuff like that.
Wasted a ton of time.
Yeah, like, did I really make a warrant that made a lot of sense? No, I just gave a diatribe about why I love America. That's not going to win you around if the other team is like, but America's military is founded on the capitalist notion that we should divide and conquer and take over nations that are for our economic interests. When we do that, we marginalize communities and individuals of other cultures. Killing those cultures means that we do not have enough knowledge in the world to actually share, to maybe solve issues that other cultures have better handles on, like environmental destruction, XYZ. Lots of warrants in that argument. Maybe you don't like that argument. Maybe you want your military advantage to win, or America to win. But if you want America to win, you need to be better and less annoying and bombastic.
What happened to actually answering the CapCake? Because like you did not go on the CapCake
Exactly.
at all.
I think the only answer was that we need computers that work. That does not a win make. You need to respond to arguments, not just go off about how those arguments are not to your cup of tea.
The banging was
Yes. A lot of times you get real heartfelt and you try to tell the judge that you mean what you say. You don't need to do it. The judge gets it. Maybe one bang. The end. Maybe one.
I don't know about that. People know these notions, and this is what debate's about, is all that kind of stuff.
Maybe you should call it
Yes! Ad hominems are never okay in debate. Unless someone reads the author Baudrillard, in which case you can say that guy's a crazy person. That's just my opinion. But, yeah, sure. But, yeah, ad hominems aren't good. They make you look less intelligent because you can't make a real argument. You have to resort to making fun of your opponent or the judge. And seriously, is a judge going to want to vote for you after that you accuse them of betraying their country and needing to leave? Stuff like that. Yeah. She had her hand and then I'll answer. You do not know how often debaters do this. I have been in rounds where I have heard a specific debater that I have in mind 5 doors down who is debating in my room with my little novices who are debating, who are just like, will you vote for me, Judge? Because I think I said something really good. And they're so scared, and they just want to debate. And those people over there are being mean, and they don't know it, but they are. So don't be loud and obnoxious. Thank you. All right.
but I was also going to say, like, instead of just saying you can't believe they answered it, you should say why did they answer it wrong.
Yeah, be like, their answers didn't apply to X. And make actual arguments. Like, the argument they made does not take into account that hegemony bolsters good forms of capitalism that mean that we don't go into countries and take over and make them, like, dead and stuff like that. Actually make them.
A big one that I think we all missed just by accident. You used 0 evidence. You didn't extend anything. You didn't.
I just got real angry.
You didn't cite a source or card.
So, all things you should do. We're going to do one more drill. This is with everyone. Not you guys. Sorry, and girls. You don't get to give us a speech now. You will later. We are going to show you good techniques to do with judges. After a round, if you are at a tournament where you are actually allowed to answer questions or ask questions, or the judge actually gives a RFD, you should make use of that and figure out what went wrong or right for you.
I'll be the judge.
Thank you. Kyle, Peter.
I'm gonna pretend that the judge is gonna be sitting back here, like in a real round.
You all are going to
So great round, everyone. So I end up voting affirmative. I thought that they, so I thought that they definitely want a huge risk of their hegemony advantage.
He's being serious.
And I definitely think that
He's
they
being serious, dude.
crush the disad on a uniqueness level, and they want to risk the lynching, I also think.
That made no sense.
So what about that, I guess, didn't make sense to you?
Can you actually explain a reason we lost?
Do you have one?
Yeah.
A single one.
Just give me one.
Come on.
You give me
I think
one.
that when you drop the hedge.
I dropped. I have it right here on my flow.
In your,
Oh, really?
It makes a really big.
Do you have it, Peter?
I told you, he should not be our judge. This is why he shouldn't be our judge.
Yeah, I've got an app.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Were you watching the same debate we were?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was. I would flow.
Okay, that was example number 1. What were some things that were bad in that example? Someone who I haven't seen raise their hand.
They disregarded everything the judge said before and then became aggressive towards him.
Yeah, there is a way to ask a question and get an answer, because you should ask judges questions. They have watched your entire debate. They have feedback, hopefully, and things that you did wrong and should fix. So you can be like, what about this argument? What should we have done better in that instance? What was unpersuasive? Those are questions you can ask that make sense and are not rude and overbearing towards the judge. You should never yell at a judge, because you'll have that judge later on, maybe, and you don't want that judge. They're striking him. You don't want that judge to never want to vote for you again because you, as one of my former teammates did, threw a chair at a judge.
What?
Yeah, don't do that, by the way, but thankfully it wasn't my partner, but yeah. You don't want to do that stuff, because then no one on your squad can have that judge again, because the judge is like, oh my god, that high school, they are scary, and I don't want to judge them.
Sounded like a
There was a premature absence when the team. I'm not sure if you guys
Yes,
you were scared,
yes.
but
You shouldn't leave if the judge is willing to give feedback, even if you want. Everyone makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Gotta ask questions. Judges have judges have input that's really good, and you don't want to look like a sore winner who leaves and is like over the table pounding. You could be like yes when you win, but you can't do like annoying, rude things. You should ask questions, wait for the losing team to get feedback, and then if you should have questions written down, like what should I have done better, how could I have been a better speaker, stuff like that the judge can give you input on.
When you said that the judge shouldn't have been their judge,
Never make a comment. I will give you input on this. Your rule of thumb should be do not speak about a judge until you are 50 miles from where you work. Because you don't know if you're outside of the room talking to your teammates, oh my gosh, that judge that we just had was the stupidest person I have ever met. You might not see that judge, but you might see that judge's kid. You might see someone from their school who then hears you, tells that person, and it becomes a huge conflict that you don't want. And then you can never have that judge again because they hate you. And then you can never have anyone on that team judge you again because they hate you. So, you don't want that to happen. Wait and then complain. If you want to complain, I say don't complain. You can learn everything, even from a loss that you thought was wrong. Something you did could have won you that debate. For example, the airtime thing I was talking about with Monica, even if you made the right argument, you might not have spent enough time on it to give it a valid reading or hearing from the judge. So always take good criticism. Anything else?
You should also write things down when judges are telling their critiques.
Yes.
It's like when I was judging at the NFL tournament, after each round they're like, do you have comments? And I'm like telling them what to do and they don't write stuff down. I'm like, why did you ask me questions if you're not gonna like absorb them and then use them in the later debate?
It makes you look really arrogant when like a judge is sitting there telling you like how to improve, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, because you damn well know they're not gonna remember anything you just said the next round.
Yeah, and who here has ever given a redo speech? It's not, some people don't encourage them like coaches or anything. A redo speech is after giving a speech, you go home, you take the notes that you had from that debate, and you give the speech again to try to do it better. If you have your notes with judge comments on the outside of your notes that say, you should have done this, you should have done this, your redo can then incorporate all those comments and it makes you a better debater.
You also get intel from like a particular judges. So like Todd is coaching for Perry and then he gives some opinions about our AF case. And then guess what? The next round we're hitting a Perry team, we're AF. And then probably that Perry team will probably say some things in their speech that Todd mentioned. So like that could also be like an indicator or some signs that you could like prep during your round.
On the flip side, if you have a judge where you read a case and it is a philosophy versus policy debate, like they're saying we should prefer ethics, you're saying we should prefer utilitarianism, and the judge is like, I am persuaded by ethics debates, not utilitarianism debates. If you know that and you have that judge again, you can now alter your strategy to fit that judge's paradigm.
Or if you have a judge that feels like super hardcore about something like immigration, like, especially in a public forum, you get a lot of parent judges that have a huge side bias towards one side. You can know that going into your
flip sides
or break rounds when you get to flip, or the next round that you get to flip, and you can be like, we know when we get X judge that we want to flip negative because they hate the affirmative.
So now we're going to give you an example of a good judge interaction.
Okay, so I ended up voting Khan in this debate. I think that they successfully won the value and the value criterion. I think it falls back for yours. At the end of the round, I think that their ethical framing definitely outweighs yours. I didn't really understand the impact, I guess you could call it, at the end of the round. I thought they had a very clear articulation of the implications of their framing and what it means for the ethical obligations for calling them a terrorist or all that.
I have a quick question?
Of course.
Was this a problem with our 1EC, or was this more a problem of like further
It was
on
in the
in debate?
rebuttals. I think it's what definitely screwed you
Okay.
up. That the constructives were great, but in the rebuttals you collapsed too much down,
Yeah.
and you kind of you didn't answer all of their arguments.
Oh, we should write this down.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we can do better
Definitely.
to make it easy for
On the
you?
flip side, I think your constructives need to be better. In the constructives, you were flopping around. Evidence was kind of not in the right order. The speeches line by line wasn't very good. But then in the rebuttals, you two definitely came out strong. You extended the evidence you needed to. You made the right argument. So if you did that strong debating earlier, it would have definitely improved your speaker points and made my decision a lot easier.
Are you ever persuaded by non-ethics impact, or is that just gonna be a really uphill battle?
Personally, for me, it is an uphill battle. Yeah, that's just a personal obligation I have towards that.
Right. Well, thank you so much for
Oh,
doing
no problem.
Thanks for
Good luck to both
judging.
teams.
All right, lots better, right? Lots of feedback. You learn some things. Figure out a judge's bias. Figure out what you could have done better for your redo that you're gonna give hopefully when you come home from that tournament. All right, we're done.
Can I add a couple
Yeah.
of things? When you're dealing with judges, some kids like to go up and shake hands with the judge. I don't like that. So trying to get a feel for your judge, I don't want anyone with germs. This is particularly true when I was like 6 months pregnant and wanted like, don't touch me. Like, I don't want to be touched. Some people really like that, other people don't. You might sort of get a feel for where you're at, people like that. I would say for the most part, avoid it. Always be sure when you get done debating, when the round is over, like, you should pay attention to the tournament rules, right? Some tournaments will tell you you're allowed to talk to your judges, other tournaments will say you should not. If you're in a tournament or an event where they tell you do not talk to your judges, that means don't talk to your judges. Don't try at the end how did you like this argument, or what do you think about that? That's you fishing for information. We know what you're doing, and it annoys us. So they say don't talk to them, don't talk to them. One thing you should always do, though, when you get done and the whole round's over and you're either getting ready to walk out or a judge has spoken to you, right? So there's two options. They're not allowed to talk to you, you're packing up, you're going to leave. Or they do talk to you and they're packing up to leave. Always thank them. I remember that. I remember who just like walks out of the room as if I'm done with you, Christy, my round is over. Versus the person who's like, hey, thanks. I really do notice the interaction.
Easy way to get brownie points. If you're at a tournament that like hands out free waters and stuff, and you're about to get yourself and your partner one, get the judge one and get your team two, or one if it's just like an LD debate, because it makes you look nice, and then the judge is like, oh, that person's really nice. Might give you more speaker points. Some people are like super emotionally biased when it comes to points. They just hand them out like candy if you're a nice person. So keep that in mind. And one thing that a team did for me at a tournament where you weren't allowed to talk to the judge was they asked me for my email before the debate and said, we know you can't talk to us, but if we email you about this after the tournament, could you like give us some input? And I was like, yeah, sure. Gave them my email. They emailed me, had a really good conversation about a key issue in that debate that they didn't understand. So it's free coaching. Sometimes judges just like to hear themselves talk.
I keep business cards with me when
Yeah.
I'm in a tournament where I'm not allowed to talk to kids. I hand out my business card or a flyer and just say, hey, if you have questions about this later, let me know. The other thing that some judges do or coaches do is if you're in an organized debate event, right, you get a ballot at the end. If you're an LD or public forum or policy already, you haven't seen ballots yet, my friends, there are ballots. Every judge writes one out at every tournament, you have to. A lot of times judges will put their email address on there, so write it on there. The other thing I would caution you about with judges, some judges are very facial, right? You're able to watch by their faces if they like an argument or they don't like an argument, if you're annoying them, not annoying them. The whole point of a debate is to keep your eyes on the judge. The other team matters very little, other than that they provide something for you to debate about. You're debating, when you debate, your focus is on whoever is your audience or your judge, because that's who you're trying to persuade. So keep your eyes on them, be friendly towards them, and know what they're doing, get a pulse, get a sense. And like, I know I'm a person who's really facial. There's an argument, and I used to judge Jackie all the time. Like, It was my job. And I think she could tell you right away. You always knew with me if I was on board with an argument, if I didn't like an argument, if I was confused, if you were aggravating me. Right? Some judges are like that. But you know, maybe you met your occasional judge who was just like very stoic, right? They don't close their face. They look like they're grumpy the whole time. Don't take those things personally. They're tired. Maybe they didn't get the donut they wanted at the judge's lounge. Yeah, that would make me mad. You know, so don't take those things personally, but keep your eye on your judge. Your judge is going to give you a lot of indications in the round.
Best example out of all the times that Christy judged me, she only dropped me once. And it was a lot of times that Christy judged me. That was like the one time she judged me against like one of the best teams in the country, so I understood why we lost. But yeah, so if you learn facial expressions, you can win rounds with judges that you might have lost if you did not realize, oh, Christy is giving me a face when I'm making this argument. I'm just going to stop making it and move on. And you get some wins that you didn't think you were going to get. All right, next is Argumentation 101.
I don't know. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Yes.
Let's
Take a 5.
take a 5-minute break.
Go potty. Take a walk. Did you take they're both average.
Do you know where the bathroom is?
I don't know. We can go find them together.
Both are half
I'm gonna want this.
Oh, also, downstairs in the A wing, there is a vending.